Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining the Academic Integration Grant session. My name is Katie Van Meeuwen, and I'm an Academic Integration Analyst at UCEAP, and I manage the AI Grants program. Before we get started, I want to note that the presentation is being recorded and will be posted in the CVent Attendee Hub after the conference is over. Please feel free to take screenshots of any of the slides and stick around for a brief Q&A at the end. So today I'll briefly describe what academic integration means and go through an introduction to the grants, the grant requirements, support and resources, tips for applying, and finally the grant timeline. My session is to empower academic advisors and faculty to apply for an AI grant and to help everyone else learn a little bit more about the academic integration grants. So before we get into the grants program, I want to start with what is academic integration. If you're outside the study abroad field, it's possible you've never heard this term before, and that's okay. Academic integration, or AI for short, is an initiative focused on the integration of study abroad programs and courses into the curricula of the University of California campuses. The main goal of academic integration is to reduce academic barriers to participation in study abroad for students in all disciplines. AI helps students to study abroad while ensuring they continue to make degree progress and stay on track for graduation. It helps advisors to harmonize advising messages from academic units and study abroad offices. And it helps faculty strengthen and promote relationships with international partners whose curricula complement and supplement those of the UC. It can also help departments by alleviating pressure on impacted courses and majors. Now about the grants program. The academic department plays an important role in AI. You make policies that allow for major and minor requirements to count for credit. At the same time, we realize department time and resources to dedicate to study abroad can be limited. So we developed the AI grants program to facilitate departmental AI work. Each grant is for a maximum of $3,000 for UC departments, schools, and colleges from any discipline. Grant funds can be used to fund peer advisor positions, to fund a student assistant to help with the grant, for the development of online and print materials, or to host information sessions, and finally for partial salary costs for staff and faculty as you do this work. Our hope for the grants is to streamline this process for departments and ultimately to make it easier for students to study abroad. The AI Grants program was established in 2014-15, and awardees span the UC system from each of the 9 undergraduate campuses and come from diverse disciplinary areas encompassing the sciences, humanities, and social sciences. And here's a chart of our previous awardees, and as you can see, the font is getting pretty small the more years we add, but it means we have a robust list of departments who have previously received a grant and excellent examples of past AI projects. The grants have a few requirements which are meant to reduce academic barriers for students. The first is the inclusion of study abroad information on the department website. In this digital age, there's no better way for a department to show their support of study abroad than to speak directly about it on their website in an easy-to-find location. This is also a great way to highlight departmental policies on study abroad. The second requirement are degree plans incorporating study abroad. So these are 2- and 4-year study plans that outline when to take major requirements and when to incorporate a study abroad term or year while staying on track for graduation. They can indicate course requirements to fulfill while abroad and courses to take before and after, helping students to academically prepare for their study abroad experience. These plans are also typically made available on the department study abroad webpage. The third requirement is pre-approval of courses to fulfill major, breadth, or other degree requirements. And this is a list of UCEAP courses that the department has pre-approved for certain degree requirements. This is another tool to help students to plan their study abroad experience. And the fourth requirement, and a unique one we think of the grants program, is the collaboration of 1 staff and 1 faculty member within the academic department to serve as co-principal investigators. So this acknowledges the important role of both faculty and staff who shape policy for study abroad, approve courses, and put in the work to help students seamlessly integrate study abroad into their time at the UC. In addition to the 4 deliverables listed, we also require a brief midterm report in January, updating UCEAP on the status of the project, and a final detailed report in June. So I want to go through some examples of the grant requirements so you can get a better idea of what the grant work looks like. The first requirement is including study abroad information on your department or unit website. And we think this is really valuable for students to see that their department supports study abroad and can be a place for them to easily find policies and resources to help them academically prepare for study abroad. Here's an example of UCSB Global Studies. On their website, they included an information session recording, student testimonials, why the department recommends studying abroad, and how they can accomplish it through UCEAP. The second requirement is degree plans incorporating study abroad. You can see an example of this here. This is a 4-year freshman start plan for Berkeley electrical engineering and computer science majors. It shows which courses to take each semester to stay on track for graduation, including studying abroad during the senior year in blue at the bottom. This is one of a few different degree plans this department developed, and some plans show only 1 semester of study abroad. Other plans are 2 years long for transfer students. So of course, every department's plans will look different and you may have multiple versions of them. But the idea is to show students when the department suggests studying abroad and what courses or requirements they recommend taking before, during, and after a student's abroad experience. Lastly, we require a list or database of pre-approved courses to fulfill degree requirements. This helps students to see what types of courses are approved so they can get an idea of what to take abroad. Depending on your policy for pre-approved courses, this can also streamline the process for the department by limiting petition paperwork. This is an example from the Davis Languages Grant, and here's the list for Spanish majors. In this example, you can sort by requirement, which is the column titled UC Davis equivalent, or by country, program, or any of the column titles. So the grants encompass a lot more besides just the grant requirements, and we've had a lot of innovative projects over the years. Some other examples of common deliverables include hiring peer advisors to work on the grant and advise students, creating videos interviewing UCEAP returnees, and hosting information sessions coordinated with your local study abroad office. Another common outcome is incorporating study abroad into freshman and transfer student orientation if it's not already there, and reviewing department policy on study abroad. We have an AI Tableau site, and this is where you can find examples of past AI grant awardee work. So if you're ever curious how another department similar to yours did their project, or maybe what exactly a degree plan incorporating study abroad looks like, you're free to browse the webpage. One benefit of the AI grant is the high level of support you get from UCEAP. At the start of each grant cycle, a comprehensive list of resources is sent to awardees to get started on their projects. We also meet on Zoom over the summer to go over the resources and answer any questions awardees have. And I'll go through a few of the resources now. So the first one is past course approval data from the UCEAP Campus Credit Abroad databases. So these are campus-specific course approval databases, which show the types of credit, whether major, minor, general education, or elective, that UC students previously received for courses abroad. The data comes from the UC registrar's offices at each campus, and we try to update it every 1 to 2 years. There is variation among the campus databases. For example, Berkeley only shows pre-approved breadth courses at this time. For each awardee, I pull major and minor credit data awarded in the department and for similar majors at other campuses. This data can be used as a basis for the department pre-approval database, or it can be used to find programs with relevant coursework in the major. The second resource is technical support to build a custom pre-approval database for your department. It's built in Caspio by the UCEAP research team, and UCEAP provides the initial build, ongoing structural updates, and login support. But the data itself is provided, updated, and maintained by UC departments. So this is actually available to all departments, whether you're an AI grant awardee or not, and you can request one through Shannon Cron. Her email address is on the slide. And lastly, UCEAP is happy to help gather syllabi to use for pre-approval. In order to do so, we ask awardees for a list of courses from abroad that they're interested in, and then we provide the syllabi when they're available. It's important to note that not all partner institutions abroad utilize or provide syllabi ahead of time, so there are some programs where this isn't possible. Next, I want to share a few tips to strengthen your AI grant application. So the first one is we give priority to applications that show they will have a high impact on UC students. This can be accomplished through adding deliverables beyond the grant requirements or by showing that a large number of undergraduates will be impacted by the grant. We encourage smaller departments to work together on submitting proposals to strengthen their impact, but please know that smaller departments are not excluded from receiving a grant. Next, the committee looks for a well laid out plan to accomplish the goals. So this means that the proposal is detailed and the timeline is specific. The next tip I have is to consider how the grant work will continue to serve students beyond the grant year. So this could mean coming up with a comprehensive plan to keep the grant deliverables up to date for students, or perhaps if you're using the grant to temporarily fund a student position, it's helpful to show that you've obtained funding for that position beyond the grant period if it's needed. The next tip I have is to include required deliverables in your proposal. And I can't say enough how important this is. If a requirement isn't possible, then we recommend explaining the circumstance clearly for the committee. And we've seen this before with colleges who have oversight of general education requirements, but not major requirements, and so are unable to complete the degree plans incorporating study abroad, for example. And lastly, a friendly reminder that the grants are for integrating existing UCEAP programs into the UC curricula, so the funds can't be used to establish new study abroad programs. And before we end the session, I want to share the timing of the AI grants. So we typically advertise the call for proposals from March to May every year. And we do this through the UC Senate to faculty and to our campus study abroad office partners who advertise to academic advisors and departments. After the committee reviews applications, grants begin in the summer, typically around July each year. And then the grants conclude 1 year later, the following summer around June 30th. So this timeline allows grant awardees to get started before the quarter or semester begins in fall and allows for project wrap up the following summer. And look out for the call for proposals next spring. It's never too early to start thinking about a grant project. That's all the information I have for you today. Thank you so much for coming. Please feel free to reach out with any questions. My email is below, but we also have until 10:20 for Q&A, and I'd be happy to answer your questions.
Okay, since nobody will ask you a question, Katie, I will. So when
Hello,
will the
LaShawn.
next application cycle come open?
Yes, so next spring, that timeline from about March to May is when you can look out for the call for proposals, and then the grants will start the summer right after that. So a little ways off, but again, never too early to start planning.
I have another question for you, Katie.
Sure.
I think, to be clear, this is only for UCEAP programs, right? So no other types of programs?
Yeah, so the primary grant work should be focused on integrating UCEAP programs, but it is open to all study abroad. So if you're at a campus that has campus-based programs or faculty-led programs, you can include that alongside your integration of UCEAP programs.
Thanks.
As I'm a psychopath, has anyone ever entertained cross-campus integration? So say there's I'll use Merced for instance, probably because they're probably the closest to us. Um, Say we have a similar department, could that be like a joint project?
Yeah,
Would
between
that be
different
entertained?
campuses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be entertained. And I think for that, it just comes down to, again, that having a well thought out plan and kind of working through maybe thinking through some of the logistics ahead of time and making sure that it will be possible to make that joint partnership. But we love that. That's innovative. And I think we all have a lot to learn from each other. So it's great.
5 minutes.
Thank you. Any other questions? And if not, again, I am happy at any time to answer questions. You can email me at kvanmaywen@uceap.universityofcalifornia.edu. And thank you all so much for coming.